Hi, I'm Katie from the I Can Make Shoes team, and I'm gonna make a pair of shoes today. I'm actually not a shoemaker. I'm the only one in the team who isn't a shoemaker. I do all of the creative content, all the fun videos, editing masterclass videos, that kind of thing. So yeah, no footwear training. Everything I know I've learned from the course, and I'm pretty familiar with the course, having edited a lot of it. So yeah, I'm gonna dive into some shoemaking, bring you along with me. What makes this extra fun is that I'm using old items to build these shoes. So I've got this old leather skirt. I think it's faux leather, so I'm hoping it'll still work just as well. It might be a bit trial and error, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I just wanted to use recycled materials, give these items a new lease of life. Lease of life? Lease on life? Whatever the saying is. So I've got this old leather skirt, and then I've got these platforms. They did have a different upper and insole attached to them, which I got my very handy boyfriend to rip up for me. I could have done it myself, but why when I've got him around? So yeah, I've got these to use. They're a little bit battered, but I didn't know how this project would go, so I didn't want to invest too much in some items and then it go down the drain. So yeah, they have a couple of scrapes, but they're not too noticeable, and I might just paint it and try and cover it a little bit. So yeah, I'm using that stuff to create some nice, well, hopefully nice, slider mule platform sandals. So as I've already mentioned, the material I'm using for this project is an old leather skirt, and then I've got my upper and insole patterns, which I made myself, but there's many pre-made patterns on the I Can Make Shoes website that you can download. I've also got my text on board and foam sheet for my insoles, as well as the block platforms, which I got from Vinted for £1. So the first thing I did was trace my upper pattern onto my leather. If you're lining it with the same leather, you want to do 4 of these, but if you're doing a different leather for the lining, you just do 2 on your upper leather and 2 on your lining leather. I then went ahead and cut out my uppers, but this is me realising that the pen I used was coming off on my hand, so I ended up with very mucky hands after this. I decided I wanted to do a folded top line, and when you download the patterns from I Can Make Shoes, you can see all of the allowances that you need to give yourself, but as I made this pattern myself, I just added my own folding allowance. So because I wanted to do a folded edge, I needed to put glue along this so then I could fold it back onto itself. So I realised my water-based glue wasn't really working well with the faux leather, so I reapplied some solvent-based glue to my folding allowance, and also glued up my lining leather with the solvent-based glue as well. I always try not to use the solvent-based glue unless I need to, or when it comes to attaching soles together, but the faux leather just wasn't behaving, so I needed to crack it open. Once they were all glued up and the glue had time to dry, they then got stuck together and stitched together. So next up, I needed to make the insoles, which I made out of text on board and a little bit of foam for comfort. So to make these insoles, I took my insole pattern, which I made by tracing around the inside of the platform unit, traced this onto the text on board, and then I cut that out. You do also need to file down the sides of these when you cut them out, just to make them all smooth. Once they were cut out, I then traced around these insoles onto the foam so that I knew that the foam would definitely match the shape of the insoles, and then I glued up both the insoles and the foam so that I could attach them together. Once I glued them together, I then cut around them to make my insoles. I then needed to glue them again so that I could begin to attach the leather to the insoles and line them all nicely. When you're attaching your leather to your insoles, you really want to make it as smooth as possible, both on the top and the bottom. So on the top, you want a nice, smooth surface for your insole, obviously. But then underneath, you want to make sure you wrap it around, put in your pleats, and then skive it away to make it as smooth as possible on the bottom, because that's going to really help when you're gluing it all together. So now onto the finishing steps. You just need to glue everything together basically. So I glued up the platform units. I also glued the sides of the bottom of the insoles and the sides of my uppers so I could glue them together. And then once they were attached, I glued all of the bottom of the insole, attached that to the platform unit. And that's it, they were done. And the shoes are done. I am so happy with how they turned out. I really enjoyed doing this little recycle project, and I know a lot of the team have been thinking about doing their own little recycle project. So stay tuned, keep an eye out, and one of us will see you soon.